Welcome to the Level Up Podcast. Our goal is that by listening to our podcast, you will be inspired to level up. With the help of some amazing guests, we'll be inspired by some inspirational success stories and find out how you can level up your business, your life, and your relationship with yourself. Because I know that by leveling up and balancing these three aspects of your life, you can make a difference and impact the lives around you. Level Up Podcast will be a series of interviews featuring successful professionals who are making a mark and a difference in their lives and others. They will share their incredible stories of how they did it, so you can be inspired and learn from the very best.
First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for taking the time. I know, again, it's always something going on, and for it being a Friday, so thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart having the opportunity to talk to you today and just getting to know who you are. How long have you been in our business? And just to share some ideas, the platform is just to get to know you a little bit more and just to share your story and get our audience to see who you are. Um, we love having stories every time we do a podcast. So I appreciate you being here today. So if you can just share with us your name, what area you're from, and just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump in and answer some other questions and go from there.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity, and it's always really great to chat with others in our industry, and so I appreciate it. My name is Mandy Phillips. I am a loan officer up in Northern California. We are a couple hours north of Sacramento, but I do business all over the state. In a nutshell, my husband is a real estate broker, and I worked under him as a realtor for many years before getting into mortgages. And it was a big pain point for us when, we'd get to the 11th hour in a transaction and all of a sudden there was a loan issue and it felt like there was no one communicating and sharing what was the truth behind what was going on. So
Mhm.
it was quite a long process to add mortgages to our business model overall, but we ended up going ahead and opening a mortgage branch, and it's been
That's
great.
amazing.
And so that's how I'm here.
That is amazing. And you know what? You and I share kind of the same background. As you're talking, I'm seeing myself because that's how kind
Oh,
of got involved.
very
Because
neat.
again, I saw the need of knowing what was going on with the lending part of the transaction. So
Mhm.
I'll share with you how that came about. But so, are you originally from Northern California?
I am,
Okay.
yes.
And so, how long have you been in the business?
I have been in mortgages for just about 4 years.
Okay.
And in real estate, I've been in real estate for just over 10 years.
10 years.
I don't actively sell anymore, but I do still continue to keep up my license.
Absolutely. It's funny because I got my real estate license back in 2005. I've never
Oh,
done a real estate transaction.
okay.
Never have, and I don't think I ever will. Love the lending side, but I got it. And back in the day, they used to require that you had a real estate license to work through a broker, right?
Right,
Now
right.
working the
Yes.
direct lending, we don't even need to have a real estate license, but I still keep it up. I just don't let it expire. So
Oh,
every 4 years,
absolutely.
I'll just renew it, and I still have it. But I always said I have a real estate license, but I've never done a real estate transaction.
Yep.
Well, I
I get
have, but
it.
in the lending side, but not as a real estate, acting
Right.
as a real estate agent. Interesting.
Sure.
So, what got you into the industry? Talk to me about that part. Like, I know there's different reasons why we get into it, but in your case, what got you motivated to get into the real estate?
I had little kids who are now bigger kids. And I was working a schedule at a job that I used to love. And then it got a bit more taxing, after the years passed. And it was a retail type environment. So the schedule
Oh,
was kind of all over the place.
okay.
And I ultimately decided that I wanted to have something that was a little bit more flexible,
Okay.
and had more growth potential. I had pretty much capped out where I was unless I wanted to
Mm,
move with the company, and that just wasn't anything I was interested in. So I got my license and I went ahead and quit, which is always a major, major risk when you are moving into a commission based environment.
Yes.
I think they call that burning your ships. So you don't have the option to
Yes,
go
you
back.
burden and
Yes.
you're like, go
Yes.
with it, and there is no return. So you have to make it work,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, exactly. So I did that. And it was the best thing that I could have possibly have done
Amazing.
for myself and my family. And while it's been quite a roller coaster, I have no regrets.
Yeah. So you got into the business right after the crash. Obviously, we're
I
looking 10
did.
years. You got into in 2000, got
Yeah,
13,
to that. Yeah,
12, 13.
2012, 13. Yep, yep.
That is crazy. I got into in the 2007, so I got to just the tail end of
Oh
that
yeah, you
part.
got
But
both.
yes, but it is very interesting to see. As a woman, I think we're always trying to find ways to be able to be available for our family, our kids,
Mhm.
and having the flexibility, which that's what I catch from what you were saying. So you had the background then in the customer service, working with clients.
Yes,
What
yes.
was the transition like when you went from the job to now being in the real estate side?
Bizarre. um, to go from something that was so structured and regimented, and you had, higher ups, superiors that you had to report to, and sales goals, and you literally physically had to clock in and clock out. Very, very, very different. To go from that to now it's all up to me to make my day, make the schedule, plan, stay on task, set my own goals, and that type of freedom, for some, definitely is not something that they're able to work with quite as well. But um, it worked out great for me, and I
That's
loved it. But
amazing.
it was weird at first.
I can only imagine. And it's interesting because one of the biggest things I've seen in our business and our industry, or even just an entrepreneur self employed, when you don't have the, like you said, the structure of knowing when you need
Yeah.
to be there, what time you need to go, even to go to lunch, right? But
Yes.
having now the flexibility, but that's up to you. So, one of the things I
Mhm.
learned from one of my mentors that the benefit of being self employed, you're on your own. The disadvantage, and now you're on your own. Now it's up to
Yes.
you, like you said. Now, were you able to adapt very quickly? Do you had to do any type of coaching? Do you have any mentors that helped you get into that structure of now knowing that now you need to make things work, like you said, plan ahead, get your goals in place, and now have the self discipline to go out
Right.
and do what you need to do to make your business grow.
Yeah. So I didn't have any coaching, but I did have a mentor. Um,
Okay.
so my husband was not my husband at the time, but he was. It was his business,
Okay.
and so when I joined, he had just opened his
Okay.
office. He was working for some other franchise, um, real estate brokerages, and
Hmm.
then decided that he saw things in those types of formats that he didn't really care for. So he wanted to open more of a boutique, smaller
Okay.
brokerage.
Hmm.
So he did that. And I shadowed him on pretty much everything: listing appointments, showings, and I mean, even down to filling out Christmas cards for the his past clients. So I was really involved in understanding what it takes to have those little touches all the time, and have that type of conversation where you're checking in with them. You're offering uh, you're offering value, but you're not asking for business. So he was a great coach and mentor, even though it wasn't
Right.
a formal coaching experience. I would say he's the equivalent.
Right. But you know what? That's amazing because a lot of times I speak with real estate agents or loan officers, and unfortunately, again, being self employed now, they don't know where to go and
Hmm.
they get discouraged. It's
Yeah.
hard sometimes to stay on task or, just stay on your goals when you don't have someone keeping you accountable, showing you the way. So that was great that you had that opportunity. And you said something too, shadowing someone who is doing already the business obviously gets you that head start of knowing, okay, if he's doing it
Yes.
this way, I can do the same. And something that I learned a long time ago to one of my mentors was like, find someone who has what you want, do what they do, and you might get the results they got.
I love
And
it.
I had
Yep.
applied that in every aspect. And it's so interesting because a lot of times, even in the health, you want to be healthy. You want to find
Mhm.
someone who is doing healthy, things that can get you to that level. So anytime you have the opportunity to find someone who has what you want, and if that's what you're going after, I think it's important that we follow someone's steps, instead
Yes,
of trying to
very much
figure out
so.
on your own and take you
Mhm.
longer, right?
Yes.
You mentioned kids. How do you been able to balance? Again, I have kids too. How do you been able to balance? And as a woman, again, we always try to be there for the kids, there for the husband, and then we still
Mhm.
have the business to run. Tell us how you've been able to kind of balance it out. I think there is no such a perfect balance, to be honest, but I do know that we do have to, at one point, prioritize and say, okay, today I'm going to do this. But how do
You
you
know,
been able
I
to do that? Tell us a little bit about how you make it work.
Sure. I wish I had a perfect answer. I think the best and worst thing about this industry is the schedule. I never ever miss an important, sporting event or class, play or whatever they're doing. I'm there for everything where I didn't have that before. On the other hand, if they're playing sports on a Saturday and somebody needs to be pre-approved, I'm gonna have to, go to the event and then go straight back to the office or my computer if I'm working remotely or whatever. So I wouldn't say that I have great work-life balance, but
Beautiful.
what I would say is that my children know I am always going to be there for them, whether it looks a little unique because my laptop might be open during a volleyball
I was
game or
gonna
something
say that.
like that. But I will never miss anything in their lives. And that's the greatest blessing to me to have that.
And that's the way I see it as well, because I remember being with my kids in the car driving to, like you
Hmm.
said, a sport event, a game, soccer game, or whatever the
Hmm.
case might be, and I'll be on the phone with a realtor or a client. I said, and they know that
Yeah.
I'm on the
Always.
phone with a
Yes.
client, and they will know
Yes.
exactly. Or even having friends in the car, and they'll be the ones
Hmm.
like, "My mom is in their phone." So
Yes.
it's interesting because they do get, they know where you're still working sometimes when you're still
Hmm.
up with outside, doing their supporting them or
Yeah.
taking them from place to
Exactly.
place. So that's
Sometimes
amazing.
they give me a hard time about
Oh,
it, but then I always remind them, hey, not all kids get to do X, Y, and Z, and you get to do all of those things, and your mom's there for you. So they know. They just,
yeah, right. Well, sometimes we do have to remind them, and even our husbands, right? Because sometimes they do
yes.
will say, "Hey."
Yeah, exactly. Well,
That's
mine being
awesome.
in a related industry,
Well, no,
he,
they understand more,
yeah,
obviously. There, at least they
exactly. But you're
understand
right.
what we're dealing with, right?
Yes,
And I think
exactly.
the hardest part is when you do not have your significant other in the industry, then
Hmm.
it's really, really more difficult because they don't
Yes.
understand how you can be answering phone calls at 6 p.m. on a Saturday. And
Yeah.
still, again, it's a client who needs, some help or they need a payment,
Hmm.
calculation or something. But that's amazing. Going into the industry, so you started as a realtor, transitioned into a lender. 4 years ago, and from what I was reading, you do run a branch. You have a team under you.
I do.
That's
A
awesome.
small team.
That's good.
I have two loan officers under me, and I do the mortgage bank behind me provides an amazing team as well. That they're not physically in my office, but my processor and underwriters, the whole team, amazing.
The whole operations, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important because again, I heard one of my colleagues said you're only as good as your team, whoever's behind you, because they'll make you
Yes,
shine or they'll make you look really bad.
it's
So
true.
having an amazing team behind you obviously allows you to be able to provide that amazing service and being able to deliver the results that they all want. We all want them to
Yes,
close.
absolutely. We have the
And
same
being able
goal.
to provide that definitely helps when you have a great team behind your operations. It's important in our industry. It does allow us to again shine when it's time to close on time or just to have that opportunity to have that amazing experience, for our clients or our realtors. What do you think has been one of the biggest lessons you have learned in the business that you're able to pass on to your loan officers? If you had to pick one.
I would say the biggest lesson I've learned is communication is key. If you have bad news to deliver, the sooner you can deliver the bad news and work through it and come up with, an alternative, the better.
Solution.
When uh, when you when you suddenly go radio silent on someone, it alarms them, and
Absolutely.
then they're not as receptive to your ideas. They don't trust you when they feel like you're hiding something from them.
Right.
So I think that might not be a lesson, but it's advice, because I've been on the other side of people just leaving you in the dark. And
Hmm.
um, even if what they're saying is true, it they lose credibility when they're not
Yes.
honest and upfront.
And that's important that we again pass on to our loan officers. I have a team as well, and it's important that you pass on those little tips because it does help. It does
Mm-hmm.
allow you to build that long-term relationship with your realtors. In
Yes.
our business, I always say we have two clients: our borrowers, which are the ones buying our refinancing, and then we have our realtors because again they provide us with leads or even CPAs or
Yep.
whatever your business partners are. But it is important that communication to always be there in order for you to, like you said, they know what's going on instead of guessing. Maybe
Yes.
she's not being on truthful right now, and we don't really know what's behind it. And I think coming from the real estate side, I'm pretty sure you probably appreciate even more the work we do, because a lot of times I feel some of the agents don't understand. They don't even know we're not talking to them, we're still working on the file.
Right, right. Well, and that's true, because my husband always goes, before we added the mortgage branch,
Hmm.
his concern, same as mine, was the lack of communication. And oftentimes loan officers just say, "Oh, it's an underwriting, or it's underwriter said X, Y, and Z," and I get to tell him now that's all true. That's all true. It
I love
really
it.
is. It
It is really true. We have
really
no
is.
news today. It's
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
writing.
Right. But the difference is that I just communicate that. And I might send an update that literally says, "I don't have an update. This is what's going
This
on."
is the
There's
update. The
still,
update
yeah.
is there's no
So,
update
right.
today.
Right. So there's still communication. But at least I'm validating it really is just an underwriting.
I love it because again we talk the same language, but a lot of times, like you said, when you talk to realtors, like, really, is that all you have to say? Yes, that's all we
That
have
is.
today.
Yep. That's all I got for you.
That's awesome. Now, looking forward, what are the goals that Mandy has? What are you looking to do? What are your expectations? What do you see for yourself in the next, uh, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years? What do you
Sure.
have in mind?
I don't know that I don't have a numbers goal. I don't have a transactional goal.
Okay.
My goal is to grow my loan officers.
Okay.
I want them to feel more comfortable. I want them to, you know, go out and procure their own business. And right now they do some, but the majority of it is provided by, or the leads are provided by, my husband and myself, and
Your
that's
office.
great.
Okay.
But I want them to feel more confident. I want them to market themselves. So it's more of a team goal, I should
Team
say.
goal.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's valid. I think we're all in different stages. I always say,
Yep.
there's seasons of life. There are times it's like with our kids when they're little, there's certain things they need from us. As they grow, they need other things from us. So
Mm-hmm.
same with our team. I feel like there are times when you're building it, when you're nurturing them, and when you want them to learn so they can go out and fly and learn how to.
Yes.
Something that I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors too. I have always had coaches or mentors because I feel like there's always something you can learn. But I said you can give someone a fish and you can teach them how to fish. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in our business, it is important that we help them, but we also need to teach them how to go out and get their own business. Like you were saying, building that confidence, that knowledge, and allowing them to go out and even make mistakes. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
how do we learn?
Exactly.
By making those mistakes. But maybe, having that one conversation that didn't go the way we wanted to, but we learned from it. And now
Right.
we took it up to the next one and we did a little better. So again, one of my things has always been with the loan officers. I know there's a lot of companies, sometimes they focus too much on providing them leads. And what happens when there are no leads? Like, I mean, just look
Right.
at the refinance boom right now, that
Mm-hmm.
how many companies closed completely because they
Oh,
were just completely focused on refis. So I think we
yes.
have to teach our loan officers, and this is my advice to loan officers: learn how to fish. Yes, you can get, leads from your company, but if you learn how to go out and get your own leads, you'll never be without business
Yes.
because there's always business out there. I
There
just
is.
closed a refinance today. People are saying there's no refis. I'm like, I have refis. I just funded one this morning.
Yep.
Why? Because there's always going to be an opportunity.
Mhm.
Obviously, the rates are not going to be in the two threes, but if the numbers make sense, there's still an opportunity for someone to refinance
Absolutely.
today.
Yes,
So, do you
absolutely. I
agree?
agree. Oh, 100%. I closed a refi a couple weeks ago. It's the most recent one I did. But it was a cash out refi. They consolidated debt and it saved them hundreds of dollars per month. And that's huge. The numbers made sense for them over and over and over. Every way we did the math, the numbers made sense. So the opportunities still there very much so.
That's amazing. Now, with you loan officers, do you have certain amount of training that you offer them? How do you prep them? What are you doing today to get them ready for the next for them to be able to go out and do more?
I think the biggest thing that I am constantly trying to preach to them
Mm-hmm.
is that this is an opportunity for future refinance business. They need to,
Correct.
they need to educate their database. Whether or not these people are ready to buy now, they need to feel that there is value provided by you as a loan officer
Mm-hmm.
to them, and you need to stay and be top of mind. You may not literally say, will you please do business with me in the future? But if you're the first person that they think of because you have provided them value and you've checked in with them and you've been genuine about it, I think that's going to set them up for future success. So the consistency, I'd say, is probably the number one thing that I really try to preach to them.
Preach to them. That's amazing, and I think we all need that. Even
Yeah.
our seasoned loan officers, been around for a long time. Sometimes it's easy to forget that. Oh, should I have done my contacts to my database? How
Yeah.
I made my calls to my past clients. So database, I think, is huge. The sooner they start working on their database, building their database, it's a gold mine. That they'll have that for the rest of their lives to
Yes.
work off and just
Yes.
feed it, continue to build it and nurture them, because it does require that you, again, make those contacts with your past
Hmm.
clients and remind them that you're still here. Now you
Yes.
have a great social media presence. I'm gonna just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I love seeing your stuff.
Thank you.
What are you doing with your social media? Do you get a lot of results from it? Do you get a lot of leads from there already? What does that looks like for you?
It is wild to me, actually, that it has
Okay.
turned into actual business.
Okay.
I started actively posting on TikTok at the beginning
Okay.
of last year. And I had zero expectations. I chose TikTok because I genuinely thought that none of these people that will actually watch my videos, if anyone watches my videos, will know me, and they won't so because they won't know me, it's okay if I mess up. So I'm doing this kind of more like to teach myself, because every marketing expert really, encourages
Exactly. Everybody's
realtors
talking
and
about you
loan
need to be
officers.
on social
Yes,
media.
get on social media, get on camera, video specifically. And I'm like, oh, it's painful. It's like,
Me too.
oh,
Me
and
too.
terrifying. So I thought if I post on TikTok, it'll give me some practice, and maybe eventually I'll get confident enough to make some videos and then post them on Facebook or Instagram, where those are actually the people that I know.
Mhm,
And within maybe a month, I
mhm.
had a video go what pretty semi-viral, and
Mhm,
and then within 3 months, I had my
mhm.
first actual client from TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah, and the first transaction I ever did that came from TikTok was over $1 million loan amount. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
It's
so
amazing.
it is amazing. I mean, I still can't believe it. Um, but really, this year has been my ratio of business. I do more business from social media than I do from realtor referrals locally, which is unbelievable.
Which is unbelievable, because
Yeah.
that's what we want to be right now, because
Mhm.
again, we need to be able to self-generate those leads, you know, rather than
Yeah.
waiting for someone to send you a referral, you can create your own.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I love your podcast, and you can take that and chop that up and put
Oh,
that on
totally,
TikTok,
totally. We're
and
doing a lot of the reels. We're doing all
yeah,
this stuff. But yeah, no,
yeah,
social media is definitely like you said. Everybody, says the experts that marketing said you need to do videos, and
mhm,
it's funny because I felt the same way. I'm like, oh my
yeah,
god, no, I don't want to do videos. I don't feel comfortable. And it's all about starting, getting again, practicing. Practice
yes,
it, get you to be more comfortable, and eventually you don't even think about it. You just do them and
oh
post
yeah.
them. You don't even want to look at it.
Yep, absolutely. I know it's just one thing I have to do every day. I have to post on social media. It's just one of my to-dos.
So
And
there you go. Advice for
yep.
loan officers or even real estate agents out there right now. Post one video a day. Post
Yes.
something every day.
Yep.
Get yourself out of your comfort zone and just do it. It's gonna be okay. If
Yep.
we messed up, I heard this from one of the experts too. It said they all know you're human, so don't pretend to be perfect,
Yes, it's
which was
true.
interesting for me
It's
because we're
true.
also conscious about, oh my god, this doesn't look good, oh my god, I said the I didn't say it properly, or I didn't say it in the right you know
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
funny because you're human. I'm like, you're right, we're all humans,
Yeah.
and just be you
Yep,
as you're presenting
absolutely.
yourself out
Yep,
there.
you're 100% right. Your first probably 15, 20 videos are going to really stink, and you're going to look back at them and be like, "Oh, it's like painful to watch." But keep them up. Don't delete them.
Don't delete them,
because
leave them out
no,
there, because
because
it even
it,
it even shows your progress, right? It shows, look
yes.
where you were a year ago, and look where you are now. How
Exactly.
comfortable you
Yes.
are nowadays
Yes.
compared to how it used to be.
Yes.
That's beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Obviously, again, we're with family, with kids, and all of that. Travel. You like to travel? What can you tell us about travel?
I love to travel.
Okay.
We don't go very many places. We have two places we go. We go to Napa because that's only like 3 hours away from us, um, and we go to Hawaii. And
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
and we love it. I have a real estate license in Hawaii, which
Oh
is
my God, look at you.
totally useless for the most part. I've sold one house over there, which was worth it,
Mm,
but just love. So we try to travel to those places as frequently as
much as
possible.
you
But
can.
yeah, and
That's beautiful.
I work while I travel, so
Yes, yeah, and
no
I
days
think that's
off.
the best part. Look at you, already got a cell in Hawaii, and you get to visit. And I'm sure there's more opportunities out there. As we look for more opportunities, there's always going to be opportunities. I think Hawaii is such a beautiful place
No,
to
it is.
continue to go
Yes.
back. I don't think I ever get tired of Hawaii.
No.
But yeah, so beautiful. Well, any other things that you do as a hobby? What do you like to do?
I I don't have any hobbies. I'm pretty boring that way, I guess. I like to spend
That's
time with
okay.
my
You
my
mentioned
kids and my
Napa. Do you like
yep.
wine? Do you like wine tasting?
Love wine
There you
tasting.
go.
I guess if I call it a hobby, then I can justify it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, we try to go down there as often as we can. Got a trip planned in a couple of weeks, so
That's awesome. No, I love
yeah.
Napa. It's so beautiful. I'm in October, and I'm gonna do a jumping out of a plane. How do you even call that? Skydiving.
Skydiving.
I'm
Oh
gonna
my
be doing
goodness!
skydiving in October, so I'm excited, and I want to do it
Wow,
in Napa, which is one of my
that's
really good friends
amazing.
lives in San Francisco, and she agreed to do it with me. So I'm excited, and I'm like nervous, but I want
Have
to
you
do it.
ever done that before?
No, no, no.
Oh
It's one
my
of those things on my
goodness!
bucket list that I want to check off this year. So it's gonna be Napa, and it's going to be skydiving in October. So
Good for
they said the
you.
scenery will be beautiful, which again it'll
Yeah,
be in the fall.
the fall is one of the best times to go to Napa. It's
That's
harvest
what I
season
heard.
and it's
That's what I heard.
beautiful. You will love it.
So I'm excited. That's coming. Now, what
Oh, good for
about
you.
a morning routine? What about things that you do to get yourself prepped for the day? Do you have any things you do to get yourself ready for the day, Mandy, that you can share with us?
You know, I might not be a great example, but
There is no right or wrong. Everybody's different, and at the end of the day, whatever works for you, and we're just
so
here to share. So, what do you
I
do?
appreciate that. So the very first thing I do, I literally am still in bed when I do this, is I pull up the video that I have planned to post that morning. I post at 6 a.m. or right around 6 a.m. That is the very first thing that I do. And
Okay.
then I drag myself out of bed. And I have some coffee, and then I take my kids to or take my daughter to school. My son drives now, and then I check email while I'm getting ready, and I I don't usually even come to the office until close to 10, but I
Mm.
stay late. So I my days maybe a
Your
little bit.
days start a
Yeah,
little late, but you finish up late.
yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
it's not uncommon for me to be at the office until 7, 8
Are
ish
you
at
pretty
night.
good with your blocking times? Do you have any specific schedule that you follow that you can share with us? Or how does your day looks like? Or is it just based on what you have going on over the day?
So I prioritize
Okay.
my files, the ones that are actively under contract and have time sensitive, um, milestones that we have to meet. I focus on those in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I focus on replying to emails and leads that have come through via email. Um,
Okay.
and that tends to work best for my schedule.
Okay.
Um, some of the states that I'm licensed in are, on the East Coast, so there's a little bit of a time difference.
Oh.
So it's really late when they get a reply, and usually they
Up
think that
really
I'm
early in the
yeah,
morning.
yeah. So it's always kind of funny because we always have a conversation about time, but it's my it's just mostly splitting the time sensitive, and then this
Yes.
can wait until the
Prioritizing, like
afternoon.
you said,
Yeah.
and I think that's awesome because sometimes we can be very busy and think that everything needs an answer today, but sometimes there are
Yes.
things that can wait until the end of the day. And if we
Yes.
prioritize, we'll get more things done and we'll be more
And
effective with our day.
it's true. When I first started in this industry, I made every single effort to reply to every single text and email within minutes. And I
Mhm.
was very inefficient with my time, and was all over the place.
All over.
And yeah,
Exactly.
and I think when you set the wrong expectation, where you try to be so instant because you don't want anyone to not think that you're going to get back to them,
Right, right.
um, that kind of shoots you in the foot.
Yes.
Um, but I set the expectation that I will always get back to you. It might be in a few hours, but let me work on X, Y, and Z, and I'll get this
Mhm.
information over to you. And I've never had anyone have an issue with that. So
And
I
you,
think
and you
setting the
said something
expectations
very,
is
yeah,
good.
you said something very important, setting the right expectations. And I think in our business, we're so used to having an instant response, or we want the instant response, but
Yes.
it is true. If you set up the right expectations with your clients, with your business partners, that you'll get back to them. It doesn't have to be in the next 5 minutes, but it could be in the
Yes.
next few hours. They
Yes.
would appreciate you and give you the space too, because again, we, as everybody else, have a business to run. That's the way I see it. We have a business to
Mhm.
run, and we need to be able to prioritize what's important now and what I can do later, and that allows me to be more effective with my business
Yes.
and with my time. And like you said too, having that balance of being able to pick up my kid at 3 p.m. if I need to
Mhm.
go pick him up and not have feel guilty because I didn't answer that agent or that borrower within 5-10 minutes. So that's amazing. Something that has worked for me, and again I'm going to just share with you, is time blocking. Knowing what you do in the mornings and what can be done in the afternoon. I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, all of those coaches in the real estate business.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about time blocking, and at the
Mhm.
beginning of my business, like you, I didn't understand the importance of it.
Mhm.
But as we again grow, as we get more business, as we have more loans in the pipeline, we do need to block our times to work on different things. For
Yes.
me nowadays is prospecting, lead generation. It's always in the morning,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then following up, giving
Mhm.
those updates, doing all of that in the afternoon.
Yes.
Pre-approvals in the afternoon, because again, you need to be able to work on what's going to generate more business, is that lead generation, getting those calls done in the morning, getting all of those out of the way, and then you always have time to do other things in the afternoon. So
Yes. Yes.
it has worked for me, and try to, like you said, pass it on to our loan officers in the office, and always trying to give them a little bit of what works for you. I think as a leader, we owe it to our loan officers, or even realtors. Like I have realtors that I work with, where like, this is what works for me, and now you fit it as it works for you. This is what I do, and then you get to pick what works for you. And I've always
Right.
felt like
Oh,
sharing is
absolutely.
so important in our business and our industry, contributing, what it is that works for you. Someone might need to hear that today.
Yes.
And you have a
I love
very,
it.
very successful, you're running a very successful business. So thank you for sharing those gold nuggets, and keep it on,
You're
keep it
welcome and
on.
thank you.
Anything you'd like to share with us as a final thought, as a final advice? If you were, well, here's one, and I always like to kind of end with one of those questions. If you had to give advice to yourself starting in the business today, would you start in the real estate side, or will you start in the lending side? Will you do this or will you do that? What would you give yourself as an advice if you had the opportunity to start all over again
Mhm.
in the career that you're in right now?
If I had to start all over again, I would actually go the route that I did. And
Okay.
and I would, because for me, in order to be successful in the way that I was right when I first started and got my mortgage loan originator's license, I had business instantly, which is unusual. But that's because I was able to really, utilize the database that I had built through real
Mm-hmm.
estate, and my husband, being a broker, was able to, send business my way because he trusted me and he knows me and how I work.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I would do everything the same. Now, I don't think that would work well for everyone, but I have no regrets about the path that I took.
That's amazing. And again, whatever the experiences we have is what made us to be where we are today. So again, whether they were the right ones or the wrong ones, sometimes it's just the way things worked out and it got us where we are today. So I feel like there's no right or wrong, but there are times that I'm like, if I could do this differently, this is what I will probably change. But
Yes.
again, for you, worked out this way, and you would do it all over again the same way. With your loan officers, is there anything specifically that you'll give them as a piece of advice today, other than what you mentioned earlier? Any other advice that you could give to new loan officers coming into the business?
Mhm. My whole thing is provide
Okay.
value, and whatever that looks like, whether that is, through, um, email form, through video form, whatever that is, provide value. Because if you are salesy, that is a big turnoff. But if you are educating, that goes a long way, and people will remember that. If they learn something of value
Absolutely.
from you, they will remember that.
Absolutely. And they can feel it, when you
Oh,
genuinely just care for them and just giving
yes.
them the information without having feel pressure that they need to do the loan with you today, or they have to
Hmm.
be doing business with you today. So I always
Yes.
believe relationships are more important.
Absolutely. Yes.
Build the relationship and the business will follow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
well, thank you so much for your time. I feel like this was easy. It was so much just sharing what we're doing today. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to have you on. I
You're
know a lot of
welcome. Thank
loan
you.
officers will get tons from this podcast, because again, we're in the business. We're doing again this every day, and the pieces of advice that you share I think are very valuable. So thank you again. We'll continue to see each other on social media, and hope to meet you soon.
Yes. Same
Hopefully in
here.
Napa, we'll get to see you in Napa in
There
October.
we
I'm
go.
just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. I might be down there.
You never know. You never know. They said, the world is so big, and then at the same time it's so small. I always feel
It's
like in our
true.
business, sometimes we say, oh, there's so many loan officers, there's so many realtors, and then literally somebody that knows someone, somehow we're connected. So
Yes.
I know that
Yes. Very
somehow, some way,
true.
we'll get to meet one of these days. But thank you again.
You're
Wishing you the
welcome. Thank
best.
you.
Again, stay consistent with those videos. I love it. You have great presence, so keep it up. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Level Up Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, you can leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Until next time, we hope you level up.